A few days ago, one of my viewers asked me a very simple question that left me speechless because I realized I had no real answer to give. What is the Light Realm? We know a lot about the human realm because it's the place we're exploring, we know quite a bit about the Void Realm, the Abyss, but when it comes to the Light Realm, we really know pretty much nothing about it. So today we'll try to figure out a decent answer to that simple question, although it will be mostly speculation rather than an explanation, but first. This is a theory video, and leaks are prohibited in the comment section. I will use information available in the game, but my theories and conclusions are not to be considered the official lore of the game, unless I got something right and it's confirmed in a later update of the game itself. Well then, grab your favorite bishop and let's get this video started. To figure out what the Light Realm may be, I have to talk about the genesis of Teyvat, but I'll be very quick, so if you want an in-depth video about it, especially considering how my theories are very different from the conventional ones, you can find the links in the description. If you're new, first of all, welcome, I hope you enjoy this wonderful community, but do note that, although unconventional, my theories are backed up by proof you'll see on the screen, so they're not made up stories. If you watch or have watched my previous videos, you'll see that I've changed the very beginning of the story because there was still something weird, but I think I finally figured it out. Anyway, one day the Eternal Throne, an ark basically, arrived on the planet of the dragons and they began coexisting. The throne started terraforming the planet, but then something happened and it sent out the Primordial One to fight the dragons. The Primordial One also created 4 shades of itself that, in the meantime, created a microcosm, a bubble universe or a space, inside the egg from which Phanes, which is actually Asmodee, was born, isolating it from the rest of the universe. When the Primordial One won, the dragons submitted to it and together created a new world, Teyvat, inside the egg. This is why the dragon planet is defined as the old world of the dragons, since the sovereigns moved to Teyvat, which is also where we met them. Then, in the funerary year, came the second throne of the heavens. It defeated the Primordial One and then stole the authorities from the dragons, who obviously rebelled against this invader. But this time Nibelung left to acquire the Abyss, and in his absence, the Heavenly Principles came out of the second throne, descended into Teyvat, and reshaped it, becoming the first Descender. This means that the 2 thrones are the same kind of arc, but also that the Primordial One and the Heavenly Principles are the same kind of entity. They're probably higher, real gods, maybe something akin to an Aeon. When Nibelung came back, completely corrupted by the Abyss, and saw what happened, he decided to fight the Heavenly Principles, but he died in the process along with most of the other sovereigns. To conclude this story, do remember that the mural in the domains represent the first part of the history of Teyvat, before the funerary year. From the top there's the Primordial One and its shades fighting the dragons, then we see an egg with 6 eyes around it. I think 3 of them are the moons that used to exist on the old world of the dragons, while the other 3 are the primordial moons that the Primordial One created. Inside the egg there's a tripartite world, of which one realm, the human realm, is broken, and a winged being that should be Phanes, aka Asmodee, since she created this space, and lastly the old world of the dragons below that was partly used as materials for the construction of Teyvat. Let's analyze the key concepts from this story. First of all, Irminsul keeps the world alive by processing memories/data, and if it's corrupted, the entire world would be destroyed. So it should be clear that Teyvat is not a completely real world. It's made of condensed, tangible memories that make up basically everything we see. It's almost like a mix of Dream Penacony and Amphorius, so we could talk about tangible memoria, with the only difference being that people don't need to fall asleep to access Teyvat. It is technically an actual planet, it's just that its materials are memories that act as real materials. The broken pieces of an old building levitating in their original place are an example of how buildings basically remember their original shape, because the actual material they're made of is memories. This unique composition is also what allows Teyvat to be split into 3 different realms: the human realm, the place we're exploring, the void realm of the abyss, and the light realm of pure primordial energies. This is where things get complicated. I think the light and void powers are similar to imaginary and quantum, 2 natural occurrences of the universe that need to exist in order to balance each other out. Now, the Primordial One was clearly looking for a new place to stay, which means that its original planet was most likely destroyed, probably by the Abyss, considering how the Eternal Throne decided to coexist with the dragons, entities that can withstand and fight the Abyss with their light powers. When they rebel though, the Primordial One realized that these powers too can be used for war, so when Teyvat was created, the light and void powers were sealed off in 2 separate realms, because as before, these powers need to exist. It's like a universal requirement probably, but at the same time, the human realm wouldn't have had access to neither of them. The path to temptation had been sealed off, so the humans shouldn't have been able to acquire those powers. This sounds like the Primordial One really feared humans, so it turned them into cute little puppies that completely depended on the heavens, hoping that they would never even think about rebelling. Despite its best efforts, someone from the unified nations still managed to acquire those powers, and they summoned the second throne of the heavens, causing the funerary year. I think these were the people of Enkanomiya, mainly because they ended up where the bishops who didn't accept the Primordial One's new order had fled to, and they also believed that the reason why the seal hadn't been broken was because the Primordial One had won the war, so it sounds like they expected this kind of punishment. Lastly, the reason why the Heavenly Principles tried to hide the real genesis of Teyvat is probably the same reason why the Primordial One fell. If the people knew what happened in the past and how the Heavenly Principles got there to begin with, history could repeat again, there could be another planetary war, and the world could end up being destroyed for good this time. And yet the people of Khaenri'ah, probably remnants of the unified nation, still acquired those rituals, and they tried summoning a new descender ever since, probably because they revere the true creator god of Teyvat, the Primordial One, so they want to dispose of the Heavenly Principles. With that out of the way, what is the Light Realm? Out of logic, it should be like the Void Realm, an actual place that contains a specific power, in this case the primordial elements of the Dragon Sovereigns, the true elements of the universe, but maybe also some ancient buildings from the Dragon's old world as well, the remnants of the nations that submitted to the Primordial One. Since the dragons were subdued by the Primordial One, this might be where the majority of their powers were sealed to prevent them from rebelling once again, but it's also where the moon goddesses created by the Primordial One, the now nameless primordial creator, drew their powers from. As a consequence, I believe that Kuvaki is Nibelung's light element, just like Phlogiston was Xuquatl's, and that would explain why the moons he reconstructed, the mechanical fake moons like the ones that's still hanging in the sky, are also filled with Kuvaki. Small digression. Just because Nibelung is called the primeval blacksmith, it doesn't mean that he is the primordial creator. Primeval basically means extremely ancient, and he existed since before Teyvat was even created, while primordial implies that someone was the first to do something, like, you know, being the original, the first creator of a new world. Besides, if Nibelung was born alongside the world, then he couldn't have created it as an obvious consequence. Furthermore, the primordial creator has since lost its name, while people still remember and use Nibelung's name, and if you forgot about it, Nibelung has already come back to life during the Archon War. Lastly, if Nibelung created the real moons, then why did he reconstruct them as mechanical constructs the second time, giving them less power than the first ones? Anyway, I believe we will soon either learn or maybe actually visit the Light Realm, probably in Lunar 3, because the Moon Gate most likely leads there, so we might think that the famous Lunar Palace has always been in the Light Realm. Furthermore, the reason why Columbina can regain her strength is because in the new order created by the Heavenly Principles, the moon goddesses of the Primordial One cannot exist. They bear the forbidden memories of a past that must stay forgotten. But since she is a different kind of moon goddess, one born as part of the world itself, we will have to eventually find a way for her to gain access to the Light Realm to finally become the new moon set to rise in a world that won't be able to reject her anymore. And that's it, I hope you liked the video. If you did, don't forget to leave a thumbs up, and if you're interested in Genshin Impact theory videos, consider subscribing. As of right now, when I'm still recording this video, I still haven't played the Sumeru event, so I don't know if I'll make a video about it yet, but I'll let you know in the community tab. Well then, thank you so much for watching, and until next time, over and out.